Welcome to Central Florida Salute. I'm Bob Peters, your host. I want to thank the Eagles for allowing us to be here again. And today I have a member of the Distinguished Flying Cross. He is United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, retired Jim Bauer. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob.
You know, I met you not at the best circumstances.
That's right.
But it was for our good friend Barney Barnhart.
Yes.
And I asked you if you'd like to come on. And I'm very interested in hearing your story. 22 years, is that what it was?
Right at 22 years of service, yes.
Yeah, well, take us on a little tour. Where did you come from, Jim?
Okay, I come from...
And how'd you get in the Air Force? Why did you Air Force?
Okay, well, I was living in central Wisconsin. I happened to be trying a couple years to college, and I said I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to Milwaukee to work for a couple of years, but I found out I was draft eligible. I was 1A for the draft. I didn't want to do that, so I went and saw a recruiter. My Air Force recruiter wasn't there. There was a Navy recruiter, and I said, but I want to go in the Air Force.
Can't swim.
He said, what would you like to do? And I said, whatever job you got, that's good for me. I've got 2 years of college under my belt. What you got? He said, what would you like to fly? I said, that sounds good to me. What do I do? And he had me recruited, signed up for going to the aviation cadets. Within a week, I had the orders, and about a month later, I was down in Lackland beginning my aviation cadet training.
Yeah, this is what,
1954.
1954.
1954.
Wow,
that's a while back.
Yeah, that's right about the time we had some advisors in Vietnam. We didn't really get started into the war.
At that time, we were just sort of wrapping up the Korean War. That was still in effect. In fact, I have credit for the Korean conflict because of entering the service at that time.
Oh, because you're a double dipper.
I'm a double dipper.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, 1954, that's primarily when we had some advisors over there under Eisenhower and stuff in Vietnam, and we did just wrap up, like you say, the Korean War. So you got there, and you had to go to school to learn how to fly.
I had to go to school to learn how to fly. Started out at Lackland, went through pre-flight training, went to Hondo, Texas, flying Piper Cubs and T-6s. Then went to Bryan, Texas, and flew the T-28 and the T-33. And they graduated me in December of 1955 as a second lieutenant.
Wow.
With wings.
With wings. Well, that had to be exciting.
That was a glorious, glorious time.
I'm going to go over your career a little bit, but you told me you've flown multiple types of airplanes. What have you flown? I know you've flown a Cessna during Vietnam.
Yeah, during Vietnam. I happened to be in many different roles throughout my Air Force career. In fact, I had a formal cockpit role probably 4 or 5 years of my 20 years of service. So usually I flew whatever was on the base. But I started out flying interceptor aircraft, the F-94C, then the F-89D and H. I flew them for the first 4 or 5 years. Then I went away. Then I was put into radar training, where I would go to a radar site and control the fighters I was just flying, and had more expert. So we were the defense of the United States against the incoming bomber fleets that could potentially come. So we were I was in air defense. Yeah. From there, I at a radar site in Michigan or Minnesota for the first couple of years, then to a radar site in Canada for 3 years. Then I talked them into sending me back to college, and the Air Force sent me back to the University of Wyoming for a couple of years, and I got my electrical engineering degree.
Oh, wow. So you did it on their dime.
I did that on their dime.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
And after that, the Air Force sent me to Westover in Massachusetts, because I was a communicator now, because I knew electronics and communication from that. So I worked for Air Force comm servers for a couple of years, working on long-haul communications, where we'd bounce radio waves from the United States over to England, for example. So I was involved with that primarily, what they call troposcatter. from when that was happening, I said I'd like to get back into airplanes again, flying. While I was there, I was flying airplanes. I was flying L-20s, which is a Beaver. I flew.
Now, what kind of these single engine? I don't know these planes. I mean, I'm sure my audience, a lot of them don't know either. But.
Okay, a Beaver is a Canadian de Havilland Beaver. It's a single engine, high wing. You put floats. You can put floats on it. We didn't have floats, but we had skis, because I used that both at Duluth, Minnesota, and in central Canada. I flew up there for a number of years with it. But that was one I was flying, the Cessna twin engine, what they call the Blue Canoe. It was the Air Force model of a Cessna 310. I flew those.
Is that the one with a prop in the front and a prop in the back?
No, that was the push-pull. That was a different one.
Oh, okay.
This is side by side.
I took a ride
This is
in one of those.
regular twin engine, and that's a nice little airplane. It's a commercial type of airplane that a lot of people have that, and there's a couple different models of it. And then I flew also the Convair, what's called 330, 331, or that shape, which is a twin engine, what North Central Airlines or Republic Airlines or different airlines used to use that same airplane. And I flew that. Air Force had a number of them. I flew that quite a bit. In fact, that wound up being my high time airplane. But then I said I was in that communications job in Massachusetts, and I wanted to get back to a cockpit job. So I volunteered to go into the fighter training again, which I knew was a ticket to Vietnam, but I wanted to go into fighter training. And so they sent me out to Lucan, and I got into F-100s. And I flew the F-100 in training there. Had an assignment to go fly that in Vietnam, but they canceled our whole class and said, no, you're all going to fly forward air controllers. So then we trained in Florida at Eglin, and we trained to fly the 01, the little push-pull Cessna, or the little single-engine Cessna.
So you went from a fighter jet to a little Cessna.
Fighter jet to the little Cessna. And that was a big transition.
I bet, yeah.
Fly the little tail dragger after flying the fighter jet, yes. So then our whole class went through that and went through the different schools to get on our way to Vietnam, but I spent a year over there. First 6 months I was working with the local province out of Nha Trang, mostly just keeping track of that sector of Vietnam, South Vietnam, putting in airstrikes every couple of days.
Now, what do you mean?
By putting in airstrikes, I was circling over ground and see something that needed destruction or attack,
take it out,
or there was a target specified to be attacked.
Yeah.
I would mark where that target was by dropping a smoke grenade or shooting a white phosphorus rocket at it, and I do one of those two ways of marking it, and then a fighter could come in and drop his bombs or shoot his guns or fire his rockets at it or something like that.
Wow, that's interesting.
And then I would go out every day too, and overnight, there's the places that were marked or designated to be attacked, where bombers would drop bombs. They called arc light. They would drop bombs different places overnight, and I'd go out and estimate the damage that was done. I would, in other words, I was doing a lot of reconnaissance. That's what I did the first 6 months. The second 6 months, I was embedded with the Special Forces, the Green Berets. And they would put, and this is mostly up in one of the hot spots of northern part of South Vietnam, in the A Shau Valley area. And they were trying to find out what was going on in there, so they'd put little 3-man teams in there. They'd put them in at night by helicopter, and they'd be out there a couple of days gathering intelligence, and I would go out there then and talk to them they'd be talking on a FM radio to me. They'd be usually whispering because there were bad guys around them.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And I'd gather what intelligence they were gathering on the ground. Quite often they had something that they might be in danger, and I would call in fighters and attack their targets that they had on the ground. I would guide the fighters to attack those targets, and then talk with the folks on the ground again, and they'd tell me how they were, if they were okay then, and I'd go on and go on to a next target I was looking at over there. I'd spent almost every day flying out there 2 or 3 times a day.
Were you alone or no?
I'd be alone in my little Cessna. There were other guys doing the same kind of job with me, but not on that flight. Usually we'd go out one at a time. Maybe one of us go in the morning, one in the afternoon, one about sunrise, one about sunset. And then midday, and if they needed help, well, then we started come in and out. I've flown about 4-hour missions up there in that little Cessna that didn't have that much gas in it, but I landed with the prop standing still a couple of times.
Let me ask you a question. When you're doing all this, and it's a great job what you're doing, but you must have gotten shot at or no?
I was shot at probably most of the time, but I never got any rounds hitting my airplane. There were different times that the guys from ground said they're shooting at you, that type of thing. I used a technique so that I was never going to which way I was pointing. I always had one or the other foot pushing on the rudder pedal so that I was always flying pretty much sideways. So if they're aiming in front of me because that's where I'm going.
Oh, so you're flying like this?
No, I was going sideways. I kept it flat, but I was sort of going sideways.
Wow.
And so if they're pushing or putting rounds to shoot in front of me, I wasn't going there.
Oh, that's interesting. I never heard of that.
That was my technique. Yeah. And I never got
I guess they all had their technique.
Everybody had a technique. Yeah. But I did that for a year over there, and it was interesting in working with the Special Forces. Just was a wonderful group of guys.
Oh yeah,
to be sharing with. They were just fantastic people, and the danger they were in was so much more than I was in. But I went out there many times when we were putting them into the ground at last light, and then we'd extract them a couple days later. And it was a big operation. They'd be putting.
Did you get to meet them at all, or something?
Oh yes, I was. When I was doing that, we were stationed at Nha Trang. They had a setup on that base, and the Air Force had to set up on the base. But we'd go out and set up just a little area up actually in the Ashau area between there and Da Nang. That's where we'd set up when we were doing intelligence gathering. We'd go out there and build a sandbag set up where everybody we had our operations building in a sandbag revetment. We had our tents circled in. We had pretty good protection there. We were just off of a Marine base at Anwa. And, excuse me, and I'd be flying there 2 and 3 times a day while the guys were out in the field, out there in the woods.
Yeah, you said you did some night flying too?
It was rare we did night flying. I really had one nighttime mission that was major. That was when I was at Nha Trang yet, working for the province chief there. And they had done a test, parachute drops of a small company of guys just to the south of Nha Trang. And they got into some big firefights with people they didn't expect. They thought they were just parachuting and then they're going to get picked up again. Well, they ran into some bad stuff out there. And so that's where I was stationed at the time and got called to go out and give these guys some cover. So I was working with the what they call Spooky, which was the C-47 converted with the minigun in it.
Yep.
I was flying under him as he was dropping flares and firing his gun, and I had to stay out of his.
Yeah, he did
Stay out of his way and stay out of those flares, and that was the treacherous mission. That was the one that scared me. But we got the guys out, and we didn't lose anybody, and nobody got hurt bad. So we got them out of there. But it must have been about a small company of U.S. people and the Vietnamese
regulars.
Right, Vietnamese regulars, yes.
Yeah.
So that, and then after that I got back and I said I wanted to go to Arizona again, and that's where I'd like to be stationed. They sent me to Duluth, Minnesota instead.
Close enough.
Which was one of my best assignments ever.
Yeah.
So loved it. But later on from there, I commanded a couple of radar sites, and even while I was commanding the radar site, I still would fly the Convair, the T-29, or the U-3A, which was the little twin-engine Cessna, or the Beaver again, the T-20 or L-19. So that's been basically it. But so I was commander of radar site, and the last couple of years I was in the service, I went over to division level, and I was the director of comm electronics maintenance.
That's an interesting career.
For the division. So it was a busy career, a good career, and my wife and kids were with me all the time, and they kept me going.
Yeah, well, that's, so I give you a lot of credit. But you showed me, you're pretty well known, right, I gather? We got this here. What is this here? The National Aviation?
My oldest son, he was in the Air Force too and retired from that. Before he retired from that, he worked in the Pentagon. And so he continued working for the Defense Department after that for some other contractors. But he liked my history, and he put me in for being a member of the Air and Space Museum at
Exploratory Wall of Honor.
Yeah, and at the Smithsonian Wall of Honor, and at where's that base at? Dulles Airport.
Oh, Dallas.
Dulles.
Dulles, yeah.
Not Dallas, but Dulles Airport. And so my name is there.
That's where the Gay, Eleanor Gay, what's that?
Oh yeah,
Eleanor Gay, the bomber.
In the museum there, yes. Yeah. This is where my name is at the airport itself, though.
Oh, okay.
Well,
that's a nice honor. That's a nice honor. That's
a great honor. And other than that, I got a few other awards while I was in service.
Oh, I'll bet you did.
So it was a useful career.
Yeah. So you wrapped up your career in the service, and then
excuse me. Moved back to retired. Moved to Michigan. Raised a family of 4 kids. They did wonderful kids. But I went to work as an engineer for a heavy equipment manufacturing company that was in that town at the time. And I worked for them for about 10 years as a chief engineer. And but then I was doing mechanical engineering rather than electrical engineering is what I studied in school. But I wound up there 10 years, then that company shut down and they went out of business and sold it to Japan, another company we're associated with in Japan. The company I was working for there was Harnischberger Corporation, which was a big, see a lot of cranes around and so forth, or mining equipment and so forth, with big P&H on it, company I worked for. And I did get enough time with them to do a retirement with them too.
Great. Oh, so you're a double dipper now.
A double dipper.
All right.
So
you play a lot of golf?
I learned to play golf. I like to bat the ball around. I'm I don't keep score. I'm not a golfer. I'd sooner go swimming.
Well, that's really,
Yeah.
you don't have to be competitive to be a golfer.
No.
You just have to enjoy the outdoors and, you know.
One other thing I think I mentioned that I do with airplanes too is that I did, when I retired from the Air Force, I did buy myself my own little Cessna, and I flew that for about 10 years. And then I finally gave that thing away. And then I built a home-built airplane with my son and I flew that for another 10 years. I started that when I was age 80, and just about a year ago, I gave that one away.
Did you say age 80?
At age 80, I started building one, yeah.
Wow, I wouldn't think you were that old, to be honest.
Well, I'm 90 now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just a youngster.
Yeah, well, hey, youngster, you look great.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Yeah. No.
But let me ask you, you only been here a little while, right? A couple of years?
Yeah, the Villages, I came here in 2000.
You ever go up to Tavares?
2020.
You ever go up to Tavares?
Yes. Yeah, I've got a sister.
Seaplanes?
I have had a ride in it.
Oh,
over
okay.
there. I
was wondering if you were going to fly one.
No, I didn't fly that. I have a sister living in Tavares. So it was my daughter who got me a ticket to go fly that airplane over in Tavares. Years back, I taught her how to fly, and she worked on her license.
She got her license?
She got her private student license.
Oh, okay.
And then she never carried on. But
so if she goes into service, we'll get her back on salute here.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. We'll do that.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming. It's been an interesting time. And I guess you would say that you did all right, the Air Force did all right by you. You got an education and career. Education,
career, and a decent retirement.
Yeah.
So it's been fantastic. In fact, my wife still says she's got her toothbrush packed and we're ready to go tomorrow.
I think you could take it easy now. But
there's a bunch of jobs I could still do.
Yeah.
If you're recruiting, I'll go.
Any particular moment that, or something that you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
It just was being a member of the Air Force team over those years. Just was a wonderful team, and I've enjoyed it. In fact, now with new grandchildren who are in service. I've got one grandson, I said, that's in the out in Fort Worth now, and just probably in E3. I've got another grandson married to another of my granddaughters, who has been with the Wisconsin Air Guard for the last 5 years or so, and he's a mechanic for them. So it's a
family
the career's
tradition.
Continuing. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're a member of the Distinguished Flying Cross here in the Villages. A great bunch of guys.
It is a great bunch of guys. Yes, we meet every month.
In fact, I got a couple of them sitting over there waiting to come on.
I bet they are. Well, you better let them come on then.
So we're going to wrap this up.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
All right, Jim. Once again, thank you for coming. And this is how we say goodbye. You ready? To all our veterans out there, our active military and their family, we salute you for all you do. Until next time.
Yes. Thank you, Bob.